Dallas Racy's Net, first and third Sunday, 8 p.m., W5FC.
This is KF5JHA testing out a new setup.
You sound very slightly muffled, but it's very slight. You're totally natural and normal, and it works very well. NT5TM.
And Tony, your audio level is really low in 5 dB.
That always happens when I talk on this handy-talkie. It has a waterproof microphone, and if I don't feel up to screaming at it, I sound quiet. NT5TM.
Yeah, you need an external microphone. You sound wimpy on it. We know you're not a wimpy person, but it's a wimpy radio. Chaz. How you doing? How about this cold weather in 5BB?
Oh, it's not really cold. I grew up in Ohio. And Tony, thank you for the compliment. I've really never been normal, but you already knew that.
Yeah, we know you're Abby normal. But that's another story in 5BB.
W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Oh, it is 9 o'clock. Does anybody need to use the repeater before we begin tonight? Skynet! This is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray. My name's Tom, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime, daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic. We encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign, break, very enthusiastically, and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? Please come now. This is a directed net, so please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me this evening, and stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmission. This weekly net operates on this frequency with a tail tone of 110.9er. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topic, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio video links are available online. You can go to the club website, which is W5FC.org right now for a complete list. And remember, tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This net is 90 minutes long and is structured in these parts. We have a general announcement, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, National Space Society. Discussion topic of the evening was space exploration and space history, Constellation of the week, space launches this week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A if we have time, and a 73 round. So let's get started. I will now take low power short time check-ins. If you are one of those, please come with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from. Let me know if you're low power short time. Ooh, How very interesting. We usually have a couple, but none this evening, so we'll go to general check-ins. Please come with your call sign phonetically, your name and where you're transmitting from.
No, Bravo, Bravo. Bill and Irving.
This is Whiskey 5 Golf Uniform Sierra. Gus, far northeast Dallas, 5 watts.
Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey J near Weber.
Kilo Foxtrot 5 Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch. November Tango 5 Tango Mike. Tony in Dallas.
Kilo Echo 5 Echo November, Eric in Plano.
This is Alpha 5 Alpha Hotel Robert Richardson.
This is Alpha Golf 5 Papa Mike, Rich in Rockwall, AG5 PM.
This is November 5 Oscar Foxtrot Clay in Mesquite.
This is Kilo 5 Kilo Tango X-Ray Kelly in Quinlan.
Whiskey 7 Kilo Yankee Golf Calvin in Arlington.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
Okay, that's a good breaking point. We have N5BB, Bill and Irving, W5GUS, Gus in far northeast Dallas, KG5BZW, that's Jay near Weatherford, K5ZPL, Bill in Farmers Branch, NT5TM, Tony in Dallas, KE5EN, Eric in Plano, AA5AH, Robert in Richardson, AG5PM, Rich in Rockwall, N5OF, Clay in Mesquite, K5KTX, Kelly in Quinlan, W7KYG, Calvin in Arlington, and KG5 Whiskey Victor Lima, that's James in Carrollton. I'll take another round of check-ins. If you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
November 5 Golf Hotel Oscar in Louisville. This is Lance.
Whiskey Bravo 5 Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in DeSoto.
Kilo Foxtrot 5 Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz, Mesquite.
Kilo 5 Golf Lima Delta, Randy Rowlett.
Okay, we picked up 4. I got N5GHO. Let's see, I can't, Louisville. What is your name? I'm sorry, I wrote it down so poorly.
This is Lance in Louisville. November 5 Golf Hotel Oscar.
All right, thank you, Lance. I appreciate that. I've got you. WB5OZL, that's Brenda in DeSoto. K5JJ, Chaz in Mesquite. K5GLD, that's Randy in Rowlett. Additional check-ins, please come down. I will now go to Echolink. If you're over on Echolink and would like to check in, I'll give you extra time. Please come with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Echolink only, please.
Fox 5, Tango Hotel Bravo, Brent and Henrietta. Back to net.
All right, I've got N5IMS, JJ and Carrollton. He put that in the chat. KFI-PHB, Brent and Henrietta. Okay, I'll open it up to anybody who would like to check in. If you've not done so already and would like to, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Okay, that's pretty good. We got 19 check-ins. I'm sure we'll get more later on, so let's get started. Do we have any general announcements for this evening net? This evening's net, these can be ham, astronomical, space, of general interest that licensed hams. Please come out.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
NT5TM, Tony, go ahead with your announcement.
Well, of course, this is not our last net of the evening. We do have the 1948 colorized black and white rubber suit dinosaur movie, Unknown Island, with its exciting score and love trapezoid. You don't often get love trapezoids in movies. Usually they confine themselves to a triangle. But perhaps the love trapezoid is of no interest to you. Well, you're probably saving yourself some time. You could instead choose to attend the Dallas Amateur Radio Club Lecture and Lab on Saturday, February 26th. This is a first-come, first-serve event at the Dallas Medical Center. You have to be there at 10 a.m. or perhaps before. Did I say first-come, first-serve? We're going to be building a weather widget. This is a little network-connected device that displays information about the weather, and it has a touch screen so you can learn more. This is a building event. You know, sometimes we do a lot of lectures, sometimes we do a lot of lab. This event tends toward a lot of lab. Please check out W5FC.org. We hope you'll bring your soldering iron and your diagonal crimpers and other related tools, but if you don't have them, don't be discouraged. Lots of people will have tools to learn. Just check out W5FC.org for more information. The kit cost is $20. We have 15 kits, and that's again Saturday, February 26th at 10 a.m. at the Dallas Medical Center. This is NT5TM, and I hope you saw the Afterglow movie. It was, it kind of had a sharp bite to it.
Oh, yes. Nothing's better than rubber monsters. Does anybody need any fills or need any additional information? Come with your call now. All right, let's go ahead and continue then. Don't forget we got AMSAT, Amateur Radio Satellite Group, that has 2 nets available to Dell, actually 3 if you include the one outside of Houston. On Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m., you need Echolink installed and you registered. You can look under groups in AMSAT. There's a live audio link available on their website, which is amsatnet.com. You can listen there, or you can use the Echolink node like we mentioned earlier. That is the one that originated out of Houston, started the whole thing. We also have Dallas AMSAT Net East. That's also on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. It's locally, right here on this repeater, so if you have questions, Tom, N5HYP, or one of his associate net controls will be there. They'll answer any and all questions you have about amateur satellite use. The only week that they are not available is first Tuesday of the month, which is the ARC Club Night. So there's no AMSAT East. Now, if you missed that one, you can always go to Dallas AMSAT Net West. That's Wednesday evening at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater. Their frequency is 147.140 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. That one's a positive offset. Next, we also have DARC hosted nets. Almost read the notes. Oops. Which include on Monday evenings at 7 p.m. We have a round robin of nets. First week is Ham Fixin's Net. If you like to cook or you want to talk about restaurants, we're going to do that this week, I think. Favorite restaurants to eat at, because we know hams love to eat too. So that's first week, Ham Fixin's at 7 p.m. Second week is MCOM 101 and 5KRG. That's Kevin. He'll do a non-denominational about emergency communications, where you can ask your questions about various served agencies and how to get in touch with them. Third week is Ham Fixin's Net, a second helping. Fourth week is GeekNet. Geek out about everything, including ham radio and beyond. There's always something interesting, news of the weird, and all of that. That's always a fun net. 7 p.m. Monday, fourth week. And the fifth week is a surprise net, which I believe is, next one is in May. We told you what it was. It wouldn't be a surprise. And on-air participation is encouraged. So by all means. Now, we also have on Friday evenings, we have CERT City simulation at 8 p.m. Learn about emergency radio communications via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. Melissa, KF5GRH, usually in net control, though she has some alternate net controls that come on. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday, CERT City. All are welcome. Saturdays, of course, is the night of nets, starting with TechNet, which you missed, from 7 to 8 o'clock, or maybe you participated. From 9 until 10:30 is Skynet, which you're listening to now. And at 10:30 to midnight, or thereabouts, is the Afterglow Movie Net. Also, the ARRL National Traffic System Training Net's at 6:30 p.m., every night of the week on this repeater. If you want to learn about how to be a part of a formalized net, whether it be on HF or on VHF, this is the place to go, especially if you're new. And you can make no mistakes, because this is a training net. All right, what you've been all waiting for, tonight's Afterglow info. Ted and Carol sat at a Singapore cafe. Surrounding them were a bunch of other explorers, all checking their outsized block and tackle. Across the street, the local Dinosaurs R Us store was doing a land office business. Seems everyone was interested in the Lost Island gig. Ted looked longingly in Carol's eyes. It was obvious there was an attraction. Ted then gave his proposal. Honey, if we find a Huahiacanahatus dinosaur, it's a real, I couldn't pronounce it, we'll get married and bring him up like he was your own child. Join us for another one of those Dinosaur Lost Island stories tonight at 10:30. Unknown Island from 1948 in color. It is not colorized. It is in Technicolor, or what kind of passed as Technicolor in 1948. It's great. The rubber suits look fantastic in color. You can keep up with all the DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, which is Whiskey5 Fried Chicken, W5FC.org. All right, next section is Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, and I'll leave it to whoever would like to talk about TAS. Please come with your call.
KF5JHA.
Well, Chaz, by all means, bring us up to date.
Thank you, NCS. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas club meeting will be held on Friday, February the 25th, 2022, 7:30 p.m. The meeting will be held on Zoom. Tyler Nordgren from the National Park Service will be the featured speaker, and his topic is, and I quote, "Stars above, Earth below, night skies and solar eclipses in America's parks." Past club members will receive an email link to the Zoom meeting in advance of the meeting, usually about a week in advance. And the Saturday night public observing sessions have been placed on hold because of COVID. One of the reasons why Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights was so that there was an opportunity for live reports from the past public observing sessions that are also held on Saturday nights, but since they haven't happened for about 2 years, well. Check the TASS website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing stations and those kind of things. And this is KF5JHA, backdoor net czar station.
Very good. Thank you, Chaz, for that update on TAS. Next is National Space Society events and activities. This would be Bill, N5BB. Bill, what do you have for us this week?
Thank you, Tom. Hope you're doing well. This is N5BB, November 5, Bravo, Bravo. I happen to be the membership director of the National Space Society North Texas Chapter. That's the North Texas Chapter. Our February meeting will be tomorrow, February the 13th, at 3:30 p.m., and it'll be online. It'll be via WebEx, virtual meeting. If you wish to be a visitor, you can sign up at the following URL, space.cent.com. I'll say that again, space.cent.com. That redirects to the sign-up page, and you can sign up with your name and email address. The virtual meeting tomorrow afternoon will be a presentation by our local chapter president, Ken Ruffin, called The Future of NASA and Commercial Spaceflight. He's updated his older presentation, and there's a lot of things going on right now. In particular, SpaceX. So, beside the roughly 40 Starlink satellites that were lost a few days ago because of a solar flare expanding the ionosphere and causing additional drag to those recent. The satellites were launched the day before the flare. So, anyway, beside that, the big news was on Thursday night this week. Elon Musk had a SpaceX event at Boca Chica in South Texas. Break. Well, this is N5BB. At that event, he was standing out in front of one of his Starship rockets. So they are continuing to test the Starship, and they're looking toward approval to launch the first one up completely into space. So far, they've been low launches. And they've launched set the Starship on top of the Starship booster. So stacked it up. So they're moving forward. He gave a pretty extensive thing. There wasn't any incredibly big news, but a lot of things he confirmed that had been guessed. People had guessed. So one of the things he's doing is it looks like the main Starship launch location for the near-term future launches is going to be at Cape Canaveral. He's building a Starship launch facility there. And it looks like moving forward, Boca Chica in South Texas will be used mainly for testing, for development, research and development kind of purposes. He expects Starship to be able to launch 100 tons or more on each launch. He expects to be able to launch a whole lot of rockets, and reuse them. So he's dramatically lowering the cost of launching things to space. So the National Space Society had a watch party. So we watched it together, and then we talked about it for another 45 minutes afterward or so. So that was very interesting. We haven't quite started up local events here with National Space Society. Break. This is N5BB. But some other things happening is the National Space Society is participating as judges in the Dallas Regional Science and Engineering Fair, DRSEF, which occurs a week from today, Saturday, February 19th, at Fair Park. So again, we've done this before. We will be judging space-related science fair projects. And as in the last couple of years, I will be a judge. So that'll be fun. And it's going to be some of it virtual, maybe all virtual. I'm not sure. We'll find out Monday whether it's all virtual or we'll have part of it in person. There also are other things that we were planning in the future, and one of those is on March the 19th, National Space Society local chapter participating in the Design Your World STEM event. This is at the Girl Scout facility down near it's near Camp Wisdom. It's on that big hill there. That's all I got in 5BB.
Very good. Thank you, Bill. And there'll be more on the Starlink satellite. Great fall from the sky a little bit in the Was Up segment, so be ready for that. This is KE5ICX, net control for tonight's, what is it, Skynet. I'll take additional check-ins before we move on to the main section. If you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Oh, well, too soon, I guess. All right, well, as net control, you get to talk about whatever you want to talk about, as Looney Tunes as it might be, or normal, or somewhere in between. I think I got a somewhere in between this evening, and tonight's subject actually comes from an article from space.com. I don't think it's super new, but it's new enough, and it asks the question, do we live in a loop? And this is how the article goes. Everything we think we know about the shape of the universe could be wrong. Instead of being flat like a bed sheet, our universe may be curved like a massive inflated balloon, according to a new study. Well, maybe not so new, but in the last 24 months. That's the upshot of the paper that was published in the journal Nature Astronomy, which looks at data from the cosmic microwave background, or CMB, the faint echo of the Big Bang. But not everyone is convinced the new findings based on data released in 2018 contradict both years of conventional wisdom and another recent study based on the same CMB data set. If the universe is curved, according to the paper, it curves gently. That slow bending isn't important for moving around our lives or solar system or even our galaxy, but travel beyond all of that, outside of our galactic neighborhood, far into the deep blackness, and eventually moving in a straight line, you'll loop around and end up right back where you started. Cosmologists call this idea the closed universe. It's been around for a while, but it doesn't fit with existing theories of how the universe works, so it's been largely rejected in favor of a flat universe that extends without boundary in every direction and doesn't loop around on itself. Now, an anomaly in the data from the best ever measured of the CMB offers solid, but not absolutely conclusive, evidence that the universe is closed after all. According to the authors, University of Manchester's cosmologist Eleonora del Valentino from Sapienza University of Rome, Rome cosmologist, you try and say all these multi-syllable words, Alessandro Micchiori, and Johns Hopkins University cosmologist, thankfully an easy name, Joseph Silk. The difference between a closed and open universe is a bit like the difference between a stretched flat sheet and an inflated balloon. Micchiori told Live Science. In either case, the whole thing is expanding. When the sheet expands, every point moves away from every other point in a straight line. When a balloon is inflated, every point on its surface gets further away from every other point, but the balloon's curvature makes the geometry of that movement more complicated. This means, for example, if you have two photons and they travel in parallel in a closed universe, they will eventually meet, Corey says. In an open, flat universe, the photons left undisturbed would travel along their parallel courses without ever interacting. The conventional model of the universe's inflation, Corey said, suggests that the universe should be flat. Rewind the expansion of space all the way back to the beginning, to the first, are you ready for this? Point 0.0000000000000000000001 seconds after the Big Bang, according to that model, and you'll see a moment of incredible exponential expansion as space grew out of an infinitesimal point in which it began, and the physics of the superfast expansion point to a flat universe. Thus, the first reason most experts believe the universe is flat, he said. If the universe isn't flat, you have to fine-tune the physics of that primordial mechanism to make it all fit together and redo countless other calculations in the process. Sounds like a lot of work. But that might end up being necessary, the authors wrote in this study. What is... There's the CMB. That's because there's an anomaly in the CMB. The CMB is the oldest thing we see in the universe, made of ambient microwave light that suffuses all of space when you block out the stars and galaxies and other interference. It's one of the most important sources of data on the universe's history and behavior because it's so old and spread throughout space. And it turns out, according to the latest data, that there's significantly more gravitational lensing of the CMB than expected, meaning that gravity seems to be bending the microwaves of the CMB more than existing physics can explain. The data the team is drawing upon comes from a 2018 release from the Planck experiment, a European Space Agency experiment to map the CMB in more detail than ever before. The new data will be published in a forthcoming Journal of Astronomy and Astrophysics. I guess that's the ad. To explain that extra lensing, the Planck collaboration has just tacked on an extra variable, which the scientists are calling a lens, to the group's model of the universe's formation. This is something you might put there by hand, trying to explain what you see. There's no connection with physics, Corey says, meaning that there's no A_lens parameter in Einstein's theory of relativity. What we found is you can explain A_lens with a positively curved universe, which is much more physical interpretation than you can explain with general relativity. Now, Corey pointed out that his team's interpretation isn't conclusive. According to the group's calculation, the Planck data group points to the closed universe with a standard deviation of 3.5 sigma, a statistical measurement that means that 99.8% confidence that the result isn't due to random chance. That's well short of the 5 sigma standard physicists usually look for before calling an idea confirmed. But some cosmologists said there's even more reasons to be skeptical. Andre Lin, a cosmologist at Stanford University, told Life Science that the Nature Astronomy paper failed to take into account another important paper published at the ARXIV database on October 1st. By the way, that's an open website. I checked it out. You got to be a brainiac to understand it, but it's pretty cool. In that paper, University of Cambridge cosmologist Jeffrey Isenstantihow and Stephen Gratson, who both worked on the Planck collaboration, looked at the narrow subset of data that the Nature Astronomy paper. Their analysis also supported a curving universe, but with much less statistical confidence than Di Valentino and Melchiorri and Silk found looking at their larger segment of Planck data. However, when Estenthal and Grayton looked at the data together with two other existing data sets from the early universe, they found that overall, the evidence pointed toward a flat universe. Asked about the Estenthal and Gratton paper, Melchiorri praised the careful treatment of the work, but he said the dual's analysis relies on too small of a segment of the Planck data, and he pointed out that their research is based on a modified and, in theory, improved version of Planck data, not the public data set of more than 600 physicists had vetted. Lind pointed to that reanalysis as a sign of the Estenthal and Gratton's paper was based on better methods. Estenthal asked not to be directly quoted, but pointed out in an email to Live Science that if the universe were curved, it would raise a number of problems, contradicting those other data sets from the early universe and making discrepancies in the universe observed rate of expansion much worse, Gratton said. He agreed. Melchiorri also agreed the closed universe model would raise a number of problems for physicists. I don't want to say that I believe in a closed universe, he said, but I'm a little bit more neutral. I'd say let's wait on the data and what the new data will say. What I believe is that there's a discrepancy now that we have to be careful and try to find what is producing this discrepancy. So there's a big fight about the universe expansion yet again. This keeps popping up every once in a while because the data doesn't always match. So, what is this, 100 years of playing this game? Hubble constant, I think it was. I know Chaz knows all about that stuff. But in any case, I thought it was an interesting article. Not that I'm sure I completely understand it. No, I don't understand any of it, but it sounds pretty cool when a bunch of scientists are screaming at one another and shaking their fists in their white lab coats about what the future could bring. This is KE5ICX Net Control for tonight's Skynet, and that's our main topic for this evening. Let's move on to Chaz. He has something for us about what's up in the sky. So, Chaz, you're up, my friend.
Why, thank you, Tom. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. My degree's in astrophysics. I'm in charge of the astrophysics lab and geology lab at Dallas College on the Brookhaven campus. Just wanted to see if I could do that all in one breath. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up. Slide Master, that would be our net control station. He's the Slide Master, too. Slide number 2. Last month, we completed our 10th year of Skynet, and we've just started our 11th year. It was Tom General, that's our net control tonight, his idea to have a net on astronomy. Tom had heard that there had been a net about astronomy in the past, but it had faded away. And I'm still trying to do research on that earlier astronomy net. If any of you out there have any information on that earlier astronomy net, please let me know. Slide number 3, please. Way back, December 14th in 2010, I received my ham license, and I attended my first DARC meeting on January the 4th, 2011. I remember that Tom General was the president of DARC at that time, and when my membership app came up for a vote, I had listed being an astronomer. Tom said that he wanted to talk to me after the meeting about an idea that he had. The idea was to create a net on astronomy. I had no idea what that was, but he needed someone like me with astronomy stuff to be involved. And I said, okay, not knowing what I was going to get myself into. Slide number 4, please. Over the course of that year, Tom and I talked and we emailed each other. An outline was created for the net, only 3 pages in length, with some links on a 4th page. I still have a copy of that, and if you're watching the video version, that's the script right there. We haven't modified it that much. We just filled in, and sometimes we have 30-plus pages that we have on a regular night. We decided that Saturday night would be a good night for the net, since the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas had observing sessions on Saturday night. And we might be able to give live reports or get them from over the air from the observing sessions. Slide number 5, please. Now, most of you understand that I use double meanings on words to my advantage for jokes and puns. So I suggested the name Skynet, and it stuck. If you don't know where the name Skynet came from, then you just need to Google it, and you will see. At the beginning of January 2012 was our first Skynet. We had a few hams sign into the net that night. If I remember, we had several questions that I answered, and Tom was our net control station. He did all the heavy lifting. With Tom's encouragement, a couple of months later, I did my first net control on Skynet. Okay, enough of that history. We'll talk about that again. I hope that a year from now, well, maybe a little bit less than a year from now, when we celebrate our 11th anniversary, we can all meet in person somewhere and actually share cake and ice cream. That's what I want. Slide number 6, please. On Thursday, February the 3rd, Bill had talked about this earlier, at 12:13 p.m. Central Standard Time, a Falcon 9 launched 49 Starlink satellites into low Earth orbit from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Unfortunately, the satellites deployed on Thursday were significantly impacted by a geomagnetic storm on Friday, February the 4th. 2 days before the launch, a CME hit the Earth's magnetic field. It was not a major space weather event. In fact, the weak impact did not at first spark any remarkable geomagnetic activity. However, as the Earth passed through the CME's wake, some sputtering G1 class geomagnetic storm developed. It was one of those minor storms that caught the Starlink satellites on February the 4th. Geomagnetic storms heat the Earth's upper atmosphere. Warming air literally reached up and grabbed the Starlink satellites. Well, Bill said it expanded. I like the terminology that it reached up and grabbed it. According to SpaceX, onboard GPS devices detected atmospheric drag increasing up to 50% higher than normal during previous launches. Slide number 7, please. The Starlink team commanded the satellites to do a safe mode where they would fly edge-on, like a sheet of paper, to minimize drag, says SpaceX. Preliminary analysis shows that the increased drag at the low altitudes prevented the satellites from leaving safe mode to begin orbit-raising maneuvers, and up to 40 of the satellites will re-enter and already have re-entered the Earth's atmosphere. SpaceX says that the deorbiting satellites pose a zero collision risk with other satellites, and by design, demise upon atmospheric re-entry, meaning no orbital debris is created and no satellite parts will hit the ground. SAC, Sociedad de Astronomy, I think of the Caribbean, I believe is what it means, apparently caught re-entries over Puerto Rico on February the 7th. I have a YouTube, a YouTube video link sitting in my script, and it's probably showing up on the video online. I think if you just Google SAC and the Starlink satellites, it'll probably show up as a video. It's a great video to take a look at. You can actually see several of the satellites re-entering the atmosphere. Okay. Well, that's enough of that for the moment. Slide number 8, please. On February the 8th, the moon was at its first quarter phase. So the current phase of the moon is a waxing gibbous. On February the 10th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 404,896 kilometers. The full moon phase will be on February the 16th, just a few days from now. On February 23rd, the moon will be at third quarter, and on February 26th, the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 367,789 kilometers. Oh no, Bob the cat is roaming. Slide number 9, please. He wants to jump up on the keyboard. Slide number 9. The conjunction on February the 27th will be of the moon and Mars with Venus close by, all in the low southeastern early morning sky. And I encourage you to go out early that morning after sunup and see if you can find Venus not that far away from the moon, about 10 degrees away from the moon, because you can see Venus in the daytime. That'll be an interesting thing to do. Slide number 10. The very next morning, on February 28th, the moon will be in conjunction with Mercury and Saturn in a southeastern early morning sky. It might be difficult to see this because it'll be in strong twilight. Slide number 11, please. March the 2nd is the next conjunction, which Saturn and Mercury will be very close together in the early morning southeastern sky. They will be less than a degree apart. In fact, about 3/4 of a degree apart. It'll be interesting to see. If you've never seen Mercury before, this is a time to maybe do it. Slide number 12, please. So last week I talked about the second brightest star in the sky, Canopus. Did you go out and look for it? The weather's been pretty good, and the precipitation is good for skies. A prediction is for good skies over the next 7 days. Maybe on Wednesday we'll have some rain, Thursday morning. I will probably remind you once again over the next week to look for Canopus very low in the south, just below Sirius. Slide number 13, please. Did I mention that there's a Super Bowl game being played in California tomorrow? The real Super Bowl is the Big Dipper in the northeastern sky. The Big Dipper is an asterism. An asterism is not a constellation of stars, but rather a group of stars that looks like something, and it's usually part of a constellation. For me, the Big Dipper looks like a cooking pan with a long handle. In the evening sky, and I saw this past Wednesday, the Big Dipper is oriented with its bowl rising above its handle. It does look funny to me with the Big Dipper standing on its handle. The Big Dipper is part of the constellation of Ursa Major, the Big Bear. The mascot, where I work, Brookhaven campus at Dallas College, is a bear. I think I've mentioned that in the past. Go Bears! And I've said this before, maybe in the future episodes of What's Up, I can talk about why the Big Dipper has such a long tail, but right now, is a tale too long to tell. And thank you. I forget who it was last week that gave me a laugh track. Thank you. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide number 14, please. Once again, the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, February the 25th at 7:30 p.m. The meeting will be held on Zoom. Tyler Nordgren from the National Park Service will be speaking about stars above, Earth below, night skies, and solar eclipses in America's parks. And the public observing sessions have been canceled mostly over the last 2 years. TexasAstro.org is the place you can get more detailed information about the meetings and observing sessions. Slide number 15, please. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have a question or need to fill on any of the information? Or do you just have a general question on astronomy? I don't know everything, but I may know the answer to your question, or someone else here on that might. Come now with your call sign if you have a question. at least somebody could have said something about a joke or asked me a question that was a joke. Okay, slide number 16. So as the moon wanes at the end of January, so do these words for the segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live. And until next week, actually, I'll be doing another segment of Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is Chaz, KF5JHA. Back to our net control. I believe it's KE5ICX. Tom, it's all yours again.
All right, thank you, Chaz. This is KE5ICX. Let me get the next slide set up. And this is Skynet. Do I have additional check-ins before we move to the next section? If you're over on Echolink, I'll look for you as well. Just put it in the chat. Anybody else like to join us, please come to your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from.
Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey, John and Coppell.
All right, we picked up another one. We got K5JDW, John and Coppell. He's in his winter home here in Dallas. All right, next up is Space Exploration and Space History. Kelly, K5KTX, you're up. KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. This is K5KTX, Kelly, and good evening to everyone. So, some big news in the last couple of days. The James Webb Space Telescope is nearing completion of the first phase of the months-long process of aligning the observatory's primary mirror using the Near-Infrared Camera, or NIRCam, instrument. The team's challenge was twofold: confirm that NIRCam was ready to collect light from celestial objects, and then identify starlight from the same star in each of the 18 primary mirror segments. The result is an image mosaic of 18 randomly organized dots of starlight, the product of Webb's unaligned mirror segments, all reflecting light from the same star back at Webb's secondary mirror and into NIRCam's detectors. What looks like a simple image of blurry starlight now becomes the foundation to align and focus the telescope in order for Webb to deliver unprecedented views of the universe this summer. Over the next month or so, the team will gradually adjust the mirror segments until the 18 images become a single star. During the image capturing process that began February the 2nd, Webb was repointed to 156 different positions around the predicted location of the star and generated 1,560 images using NIRCam's 10 detectors, amounting to 54 gigabytes of raw data. The entire process lasted nearly 25 hours, but notably the observatory was able to locate the target star in each of its primary segments within the 6 hours and 16 exposures. These images were then stitched together to produce a single large mosaic that captures the signature of each primary mirror segment in one frame. That mosaic is over 2 billion pixels. If you are watching the video feed of Skynet, you should be seeing this mosaic, or you can certainly go to nasa.com and take a look at it there. Lee Feinberg, Webb Optical Telescope Element Manager at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, explains the early stages of the mirror alignment process. Each unique dot visible in the image mosaic is the same star as imaged by each of Webb's 18 primary mirror segments, a treasure trove of detail that optics experts and engineers will use to align the entire telescope. This activity determined the post-deployment alignment positions of every mirror segment, which is the critical first step in bringing the entire observatory into a functional alignment for scientific operations. NIRCam is the observatory's wavefront sensor and a key imager. It was intentionally selected to be used for Webb's initial alignment steps because it has a wide field of view and the unique capability to safely operate at higher temperatures than the other instruments. It is also packed with customized components that were designed to specifically aid in the process. NIRCam will be used throughout nearly the entire alignment of the telescope's mirrors. It is, however, important to note that NIRCam is operating far above its ideal temperature while capturing these initial engineering images, and visual artifacts can be seen in the mosaic. The impact of these artifacts will lessen significantly as Webb draws closer to its ideal cryogenic operating temperatures. Moving forward, Webb's images will only become clearer, more detail-laden, and more intricate as its other three instruments arrive at their intended cryogenic operating temperatures and begin capturing data. The first scientific images are expected to be delivered to the world in the summer. Though this is a big moment, confirming that Webb is a functional telescope, there is much ahead to be done in the coming months to prepare the observatory for full scientific operations using all four of its instruments. So we got a lot to look forward to. And this is K5KTX in space history this past week, beginning on February the 6th. 1995, the shuttle Discovery approached the Russian space station Mir and completed a fly-around, thus marking the first shuttle rendezvous with Mir as part of the Shuttle Mir program. The mission, STS-63, was the first of the year, and on board was Russian cosmonaut Vladimir Titov. He was the second cosmonaut to fly aboard a U.S. space shuttle as part of the U.S.-Russian agreement on spaceflight cooperation. After the closest point of approach, Discovery Commander James Weatherby said, "As we are bringing our spaceships closer together, we are bringing our nations closer together. The next time we approach, we will shake your hand, and together we will lead into the next millennium." On February the 7th, 1984, astronaut Bruce Mccandless performed the first non-tethered spacewalk. This happened during Space Shuttle mission STS-41B, and Bruce used the Manned Maneuvering Unit, or MMU, a sort of jet propulsion backpack. Bruce was not only the first person to use MMU, but was intimately involved in the design and development with Ed Whitsitt from NASA and Bill Bollendank from Martin Marietta Corporation. Mccandless, Whitsitt, and Bollendank were awarded the Collier Trophy in 1984 for the development of the MMU. Bruce passed away in late December 2017 and was buried at his alma mater, the U.S. Naval Academy, on June 16, 2018. That's January the 16th, 2018. February the 7th, 1999, NASA's Stardust mission launched. The primary goal of the mission was to collect samples from the comet Wild 2 and return them to Earth. The team had expected the samples to contain materials from the formation of the early solar system, preserved in ice for billions of years. Indeed, researchers found what they expected, but with a surprise. Comet Wild 2 had formed under extremely hot conditions. It turns out that comets are not only made up of ice from the outer solar system, but also materials formed near the environment hot enough to evaporate bricks. On February the 8th, 1974, Skylab 4 crew returned from the third and final mission to the first U.S. space station. Skylab 4 was launched on November 16, 1973, with command and service modules CSM-118. The three-person crew, Gerald P. Carr, William R. Pogue, and Edward Gibson, spent 84 days on orbit. The mission included the observation of the comet Kohoutek, among numerous experiments. The crew completed 1,214 Earth orbits and 4 extravehicular activities totaling 22 hours and 13 minutes. CSM-118 was transferred from NASA to the Smithsonian in 1975. Also on February the 8th, 1992, the Ulysses probe arrived at Jupiter to perform a swing-by maneuver in order to establish an orbit around the Sun. The Ulysses mission was designed to study the Sun from its poles, a vantage point not often accessed for 5 years. Exceeding all expectations, the Ulysses collected invaluable data on the heliosphere for 20 years, allowing scientists to map previously inaccessible parts of the heliosphere. Though not its primary objective, the Jupiter flyby led to significant discoveries. especially about the magnetic field of the largest planet in our solar system. Also on February the 8th, back in 2013, the Curiosity rover drilled into a portion of Martian bedrock, collecting the first sample ever obtained from the interior of another planet. This particular rock, named John Klein in memory of an MSL deputy project manager, produced evidence that conditions on Mars were favorable for microbial life. And this past week, we had several astronaut birthdays, so say happy birthday. February the 7th, 1932, Al Worden, who was on the Apollo 15 mission. Also on February the 7th, 1963, Heidi Marie Stephenson-Piper. Boy, I'm sure I butchered that name. She was on Space Shuttle missions STS-115 and STS-126. February the 9th, 1960, Peggy Whitson, who was on Space Shuttle missions STS-111 and STS-113 as part of Expedition 5. She was on Expedition 16 and a long-duration Expedition 50, 51, and 52. Also, happy birthday on February the 10th, 1968, Garrett Reisman, who was on Space Shuttle missions STS-123 and 124 as part of Expedition 16 and 17. And the second to last Space Shuttle mission STS-132. And yesterday, happy birthday to Richard Mastracchio. February the 11th, 1960, he was part of Space Shuttle missions STS-106, STS-118, and STS-131, and Expeditions 38 and 39. And that's all I've got this evening. Back to you, Tom. This is K5KTX.
Very good, and thank you, Miss Kelly. This is Skynet, and I am KE5ICX net control for tonight's Skynet net. Okay, next up is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Boy, I wish I'd been drinking. Oh well, that would explain my stumbling, but I haven't, so I can't explain my stumbling. So we'll now go back to Chaz, KF5JHA, with Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Please go ahead, Chaz.
Thank you, Tom. Sometimes I need to get my tongue fixed, too, yeah. Slide Master, that would be Tom, the one that was just speaking a moment ago. Slide number 17, please. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Such are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year, out of the 88 total constellations. So Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over Texas in a year. In her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is Lepus, the Hare. Now, don't get that confused with Lepus, which is a wolf, and both of them are constellations in the sky. Lepus, the Hare, is an ancient constellation that is considered to be the prey that Orion the Hunter and his two hunting dogs, Canis Major and Canis Minor, are pursuing in the sky. Slide number 18. I know. This is the thing that all of you have been waiting for all night long. Okay, the jokes of the week. Here we go. What do rabbits say before they eat? Lettuce, pray. You know, get it like the vegetable lettuce, pray. What's the difference between a healthy rabbit and an odd rabbit? One is a fit bunny, and the other is a bit funny. I had to practice that one. What airline do English rabbits use? British Airways. Oh, you should get this one. This next one you should get. What do you call 100 rabbits walking backwards? A receding hairline. Okay, Billy. Oh, you're on. Billy should get this one. I just looked over and Echolink. She's here. What type of math are rabbits the best at? Oh, come on, Billy. Do you have your fingers on your keyboard? Can you type this out? I know she could do it. Yes, she did it. Multiplication is correct. Thank you very much, Billy. By the way, Billy is Dr. Billy because she teaches math somewhere. How many magicians does it take to pull a rabbit out of a hat? How many magicians does it take to pull a rabbit out of a hat? Just one. That's a trick question. Oh, aren't you glad I'm finished with the jokes for the moment? Slide Master, slide number 19, please. Gamma Leporus is an easily split double star. Can be seen as a double star even in low power, like 40 power. Burnham's Celestial Handbook calls the pair of stars an easy and appealing object for even the smallest telescopes. Some sources say that Gamma Leporus can even be split with binoculars, earning it a position in the Astronomical League Binocular Double Star Club. I'll need to try that sometime. In an 8-inch telescope, the primary star looks white with a yellow-white companion. Burnham's Celestial Handbook notes that the star's proper motion through space closely matches that of Sirius, so perhaps Orion's great hunting dog really is pursuing a hare through the sky. Heinz Crimson Star, R. Leporus, quoting from the Constellation of the Month article in a past Texas Astronomical Society newsletters, The Spectrum. Heinz Crimson Star is a carbon star. Such stars have high amounts of carbon in them. The carbon removes a little bit of the blue light that radiates from the stars, so these stars shine with a deep red color. The star appears to be very red in an 8-inch telescope, although it's not seen as red as Herschel's Garnet star in Cepheus. Heinz star appears to be more orange. Unfortunately, when Lepus is well placed for viewing, the southern portion of Cepheus is very low in the northern horizon, so it's difficult to make a side-by-side comparison of the two stars. Heinz Crimson Star is also known as R. Leporus because it is a Miro-type variable star with about 432-day period. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide number 20, please. M79 is the only Messier object in Lepus. It's a globular cluster. Walter Scott Houston notes that M79 is visible in binoculars under good dark sky conditions, so it's definitely a candidate for the Binocular Messier Club. Even so, Burnham's Celestial Handbook notes that M79 is not one of the more brilliant globulars and becomes a truly impressive object only in large telescopes. Indeed, in his book, The Messier Object, Stephen J. Miro writes that at the Oak Ridge Station at Harvard, Massachusetts, he once turned a 16-inch reflector toward M79 and resolved it down to the core. An 8-inch telescope, M79, looks nice, but it is obvious that more aperture is needed. But in an 8-inch scope, it can start to be resolved a few stars on the outer fringes of the cluster, but mostly it's a round fuzzy glow with a bright core. Slide number 21, please. NGC 2017 is an open cluster near Alpha Leporus. Though originally identified as an open cluster, NGC 2017 is now believed to be a multiple star system. It looks like 4 bright stars with some fainter ones around it. The bright stars are notable for their variation in color, and you may be able to make out the colors something like this, orange, yellow, and white, and blue-white. I'm going to have to look at it the next time I'm looking at that part of the sky. Slide number 22, please. IC418. And now I've got to let you know that whenever you see the catalog number IC, that usually means you can't see it. So this is going to be a faint object to look for, but it's going to be fascinating if you can find it. IC418 is also known as the Spirograph Nebula. Not very easy to find because it is so small, which makes it look like a star at low powers. In spite of this, you may be able to see IC418 in a 50-millimeter finder scope. Walter Scott Houston, in his Deep Sky Wonders column, writes that because the 9th magnitude central star, this object is readily located in 7x50 binoculars, but that's because the star is there. In an 8-inch telescope at low power, it still looks stellar. But when you use an 18-millimeter eyepiece, that's a really high power, with over 100 magnification, it can show just a bit of width with some actual stars in the field that were focused at points. In the Hubble Space Telescope, IC418, the internal structure of IC418 is reminiscent of a spirograph drawing. Didn't all of you have those when you were kids growing up? Giving IC418 the moniker of the Spirograph Nebula. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide number 23, please. There are a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Lepus the Hare. I've just given you, Lepus the Hare. I've just given you a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomy League has about 73 different observing programs, most of which have around 100 objects. If you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen in about a year. Slide number 24. And that is Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week, Lepus the Hare. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on deep sky objects that I've used, borrowed, and stolen for every night, just like tonight. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now next time, I'll take a look at a constellation, Auriga the Charioteer, or Shepherd. It depends on what myth or legend you go after. And this is KF5JHA sending it back to our net control. I call him Grandpa Skynet, KE5ICX.
Jeez, I don't even get the father of Skynet. I get the grandpa of Skynet. Well, after the last few months, I feel like Grandpa. Beginning to look like him, too. This is KE5ICX. Next section's mine. Space launches for the week. First off, let me tell you about two that we've mentioned a couple of times on this net. February 10th, the Soyuz 1 Web 13 launch. That was the Ariane Space Soyuz launch. 34 new broadband satellites for the OneWeb constellation to space. That was on February 10th. I watched that one live via the interwebs. In its first mission of 2022, European launch provider Ariane Space launched Soyuz Flight DS-27 from the Guiana Space Center in Kourou, French Guiana. That was at 1:09 p.m. Eastern Time. There we have it, liftoff of OneWeb's Launch 13 from Kourou in French Guiana. Launch commentator George Barrett said during a live webcast of the mission, "Gosh, this is a moment that you tune in and watch a live rocket launch, isn't it? To see it go from the launch pad to hurtle and look at it hurtling into orbit." Obviously, he was very impressed. Also on February 10th, not so lucky, the Astra Rocket 3.3. First operational launch of the Astra Rocket 3.3 vehicle failed on February 10th when the rocket's upper stage appeared to tumble out of control after stage separation. The rocket, designated LV0008 by Astra, lifted off from the Space Launch Complex 46 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. The launch suffered several days of delays because of range issues as well as the last-second scrub during the previous launch attempt on February 7th. Okay, that's it on two missions, one successful, one not. Coming up, February 13th, which is tomorrow, 13-14th, from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota, India, India's Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, or PSLV, designated PSLV C-52, will launch from the Indian RESAT-1A Radar Earth Observation Satellite. Will launch the Indian RESAT-1A satellite. Also, on February 13th, 14th, as well, Black Sky 16 and 17 will launch. This is from Launch Complex 1A at Mahia Peninsula in New Zealand. A Rocket Lab Electron rocket will launch 2 small second-generation for Black Sky's commercial fleet of Earth observation spacecraft. Rocket Lab has nicknamed this mission Without Mission a Beat. Without Mission a Beat. And we have on February 14th, 15th, the Progress 80P launch from Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. A Russian government Soyuz rocket will launch the 80th Progress cargo delivery ship to the International Space Station. The rocket will fly in the Soyuz 2.1A configuration. On February 19th, there'll be a launch from Wallops Island, Virginia, and Pad 0A. A Northrop Grumman Antares rocket will launch the 18th Cygnus cargo freighter on the 17th operational cargo delivery flight to the International Space Station. The mission is known as NG-17. The rocket will fly in an Antares 230 Plus configuration with 2 RD-181 first stage engines and a Castor 30XL second stage. On February 20th, Falcon 9 will launch Starlink 4-8 with another batch of Starlink Internet satellites. This mission is expected to have 2 instantaneous launch opportunities within a 4-hour launch period. In late February, Falcon 9 Starlink to be determined to launch SLC-4E at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. Falcon 9 rocket will launch yet another batch of Starlink Internet satellites, probably polar orbit type stuff. Then to be determined, SSLV, this is the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota, India. The Small Satellite Launch Vehicle, or SSLV, will launch on its first orbital test flight, consisting of 3 solid-fueled stages and a liquid-fueled upper stage. The SSLV is a new Indian launch vehicle designed to carry small satellites into low Earth orbit. And then finally, also an SSLV Black Sky Global launch from the same Space Center will launch on its first commercial mission with 4 Earth observation satellites for Black Sky Global, a Seattle-based company. The rideshare mission for Black Sky is being arranged by Space Flight. And that's it. It's going to be a very busy rest of February for us on those missions. This is KE5ICX, and this is Skynet. Next up is recent astronomical discoveries, and that's Miss Brenda, WB5OZL. What do you have for us tonight, Miss Brenda?
Thank you, Tom. This is WB5OZL, and this article is entitled How Life Came to Earth. Researchers have discovered a new clue in the search for the origin of life by showing that peptides can form on dust under conditions such as those prevailing in outer space. These molecules, which are one of the basic building blocks of all life, may therefore not have originated on our planet at all, but possibly in cosmic molecular clouds. All life as we know it consists of the same chemical building blocks. These include peptides, which perform various completely different functions in the body, transporting substances, accelerating reactions, or forming stabilizing scaffolds in cells. Peptides consist of an individual amino acids arranged in a specific order. The exact order determines a peptide's eventual properties. How these versatile biomolecules came into being is one of the questions about the origin of life. Amino acids, nucleobases, and various sugars found in meteoroids, for example, show that this origin could be extraterrestrial in nature. However, for a peptide to be formed from individual amino acid molecules, very special conditions are required that were previously assumed to be more likely to exist on Earth. The The first step requires water, while for the second step, there must be no water. Water plays an important part in the conventional way in which peptides are created, says Dr. Serge Krasnokutsky of the Laboratory Astrophysics and Cluster Physics Group of the Max Planck Institute for Astronomy at the University of Jena. In this process, individual amino acids combine to form a chain. For this to happen, one water molecule must be removed each time. Our quantum chemical calculations have now shown that the amino acid glycine can be formed through a chemical precursor called an amino ketene combining with a water molecule. Put simply, in this case, the water must be added for the first reaction step and water must be removed for the second. With this knowledge, the team led by the physicist Krasnokutsky has now been able to demonstrate a reaction pathway that can take place under cosmic conditions and does not require water. Instead of taking the chemical detour in which amino acids are formed, we wanted to find out whether amino ketene molecules could not be formed instead and combine directly to form peptides, says Krasnokutsky, describing the basic idea behind the work. He adds, we did this under the conditions that prevail in cosmic molecular clouds, that is to say, on dust particles in a vacuum, where the corresponding chemicals are present in abundance, carbon, ammonia, and carbon monoxide. In an ultra-high vacuum chamber, substrates that serve as a model for the surface of dust particles were brought together with carbon, ammonia, and carbon monoxide at about 1 quadrillionth of normal air pressure and minus 263 degrees Celsius. Investigations showed that under these conditions, the peptide polyglycine was formed from the simple chemicals, Krasnokutsky says. These are therefore chains of the very simple amino acid glycine, and we observed different lengths. The longest specimens consisted of 11 units of the amino acid. In this experiment, the German team was also able to detect this suspected amino ketene. The fact that the reaction can take place at such low temperatures at all is due to the amino ketene molecules being extremely reactive. They combine with each other in an effective polymerization. The product of this is polyglycine. A quantum mechanical tunneling effect might play a role. It was nevertheless surprising to us that the polymerization of amino ketene could happen so easily under such conditions, says Krasnokutsky. This is because an energy barrier actually has to be overcome for this to happen. However, it may be that we are helped in this by a special effect of quantum mechanics. In this special reaction step, a hydrogen atom changes its place. However, it is so small that as a quantum particle, it could not overcome the barrier but was simply able to cross it, so to speak, through the tunneling effect. Now that it is clear that not only amino acids but also peptide chains can be created under cosmic conditions, we may have to look not only to Earth but also more into space when researching the origin of life. This article is from ScienceDaily.com. Back to net, this is WB5OZL.
All right, thank you, Ms. Brenda. And this is KE5ICX, net control for tonight's Skynet. Let's see, what do we got next is visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. We have a few good ones. Let me see how this all works out here. I can bring them up. So all this is based, you put in your longitude and latitude at heavensabove.com, and you too can get the same information I have here without any special programming, just the browser. So the International Space Station has a couple of passes, one on February 19th, minus 0.3 magnitude. This is at 4:39 a.m. out of the east-southeast. Oh, let me say that again, minus 3. It's the second pass on February 19th, minus 3.4 magnitude at 6:12 a.m. out of the west-southwest, reaches its highest point at 6:14 at 46 degrees, and then falls to the northeast at 6:18, 10 degrees. There, February 20th, minus 3.5 magnitude, so it's a little bit brighter. 5:27 a.m. It reaches its highest point at 5:27:11. Now this means that it's in mid. It appears at 64 degrees immediately, so it's sort of in the middle of the sky, and then it falls at 5:30 to the northeast. Envisat is our next reliable. Let's just go ahead and talk about that one. This is a north-south environmental satellite that's been out of commission for years, but it's gigantic, so it does allow for a nice footprint in the sky. February 13th, now it's also in a polar orbit, so that makes it quite easy for us to see. 3.0 magnitude, 534 out of the north, 539, it reaches its highest point at 58 degrees and then falls to the south-southwest. February 14th, 3.5 magnitude. Now we're getting a little difficult to see here in Dallas, but possible. 4:57 a.m. and out of the north-northeast, reaches its highest point at 57 degrees at 5:02 and then falls to 5:07 to the south. February 16th is another decent pass, 2.8 magnitude at 5:22 a.m. Out of the north, it reaches its highest point at 77 degrees at 5:27 and falls to 5:32. So it's a full and satisfying pass. On February 19th, 3.0 magnitude, 5:11. Out of the north-northeast, it reaches its highest point almost directly overhead at 5:16, and it falls at 5:21 to the south. So there you have it, a number of different satellite passes, International Space Station, Envisat. Nobody else came up to snuff on this one this week, so those are the only two that I can give you any information on. All right, this is KE5 ICX Net Control for tonight's Skynet. Do I have additional check-ins this evening? Please come to your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from. And Billy, I have you checked in, so I know you're out there. KF5 PDS in Sherman. Additional check-ins, please come now.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot, India, WB4MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power.
Okay, I got WB4MSI, Ted in Dallas, low power. Anyone else like to check in? Please come now. Last chance. All right. Move to the next section. Do we have any astronomical Q&A? Anybody have any questions that have been nagging them about astronomy or space? Please come with your call. We'll see if we can get you an answer. All right, none. So we're just going to go ahead and consider this one done. Tonight we had 22 check-ins. Thanks for participating on the air. That includes the NCS, me. Thanks to all checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Till next Saturday night, this is Kilo Echo 5, India, Charlie X-Ray, Tom, and I'll be closing the net at 22:26 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 7-3, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. We'll be back in about 5 minutes to start the Afterglow movie net. Tonight's movie is Unknown Island, a color film from 1948. So it's quite an adventure in color. Be back here in about 5 minutes. We'll see you then. This is KE5 ICX, clear for now.
If it increases your pay, Tom, you can check me in a second time. KF5 JHA.
No, you constitute double trouble if I do that. It's bad enough. You're a capital T that rhymes with T. What is it? How's that song go? Music. Oh, well, I'll figure it out. Anyway, you're trouble.
Next week I'll have to be on YouTube as well as Echolink and on radio. That way I can check in 3 times. KF5 JHA. Everyone, have a good night. 73.
Chaz, you can go to California where you can check in but never leave in 5BB.
Oh, something like a Hotel California. Yeah, Beach Boys.
Normal state.
Beach Boys? I think you got that wrong.
Eagles.
Yeah! I think the term California confused Chaz, and that's why he thought of the Beach Boys. In 5BB.
I'm completely operational, and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
Hey, Bill, would you like to do the net this evening?
Certainly, Tom. Certainly. As I'm scratching my head, certainly.
All right, good deal. You sounded like you were in a good mood, and I've been talking all evening, so this will do it. I'll give them synopses whenever you're ready.
Are we going to wait a few more minutes, or what do you think?
Yeah, the countdown says 2 more minutes, so give it 2 minutes. Synchronize watches now.
One minute, 45 seconds, and counting. Does anyone need to use the repeater before we start Afterglow? This is N5BB, net controller. Nothing heard. This is the Afterglow net. I know you've been waiting for it. We are going to talk about a movie. That movie is Unknown Island, a 1948 Cinecolor color movie made with a very interesting process with two films. One sensitive gets red and the other one gets the other colors. And it was very inexpensive and used for full-length films between World War II and the mid-50s. Now, Tom will tell us a synopsis of the movie. This synopsis may or may not be very accurate. Go ahead, Tom, N5BB.
Well, thank you, Bill. And I've got the real one. This one's actually from Wikipedia, Unknown Island. So here it goes. It does say it's interesting. The article's plot summary may be too long or excessively detailed. Please help to improve it by removing unnecessary details and making it more concise. That's okay. I'm going to edit it as I speak. So here it goes. Adventure seeker Tom Osborne and his fiancée Carol are at a cafe in Singapore looking for a charter to an island supposedly inhabited by dinosaurs. They come across the ruthless, two-fisted, alcohol-suffering Captain Tarnowski, played by Barton McLean. They decide to talk, and Osborne asks if Tarnowski is willing to give them a charter in his ship to the unknown island. Initially, Tarnowski refuses, but then Osborne tells that during World War II, he was a pilot in the U.S. Navy, had flown over many remote islands, and on one he reported seeing large moving creatures that looked like dinosaurs. He shows Tarnowski a photo. Oh boy, is that some photo. And the captain finally agrees to take them there. Before departing, Tarnowski introduces them to John Fairbanks, Douglas Fairbanks' brother, Richard Denning, an old friend of his who agrees to help them with their quest. Fairbanks and a group of friends have been shipwrecked on an island, Fairbanks being the lone survivor of attack by the dinosaurs. As Fairbanks has been drinking incessantly to forget the events of the past since his rescue, his account of the dinosaur island was believed to be a result of alcoholism and insanity. Since Fairbanks and Osborne's stories collaborated, Tarnowski agrees to allow his ship to be hired, but specifies that no one in the crew may be told of their destination. They sail aboard Tarnowski's ship, heading for weeks in the direction of French Polynesia, where the island is supposed to be located. During the voyage, it becomes clear that Fairbanks has obviously become attracted to Carol, even though she is the fiancée of Osborne. Some of the crew realize they are headed to a dangerous island, so they mutiny and attack the officers. They lose the fight and are forced to proceed to the island. The next morning, the ship's mate spots the island in the distance. They approach. He spots a brontosaurus with a confirmation of living dinosaurs inhabiting the island. They become cautious. They unload supplies. Camp is set up. Forest clearing not far from shore. Whilst exploring the island, they find the brontosaurus and a Dimetrodon. Then, as they venture out onto the flats of the island, a crewman is killed by a Ceratosaurus. Knowing these creatures could be a threat, the crew are ordered to guard the camp at all times. And your fight between Fairbanks and Osborne becomes because of Carol's safety. Ground slot appears near the camp. Carol screams. The man is alerted. The slot moves away quickly. The next morning, they go back to the flats where they find many Ceratosaurus. The crewmen try to persuade them to leave, but the first mate agrees with them. He gets into a fight with Tarnowski and is killed. The crewman is shot and killed by Tarnowski, while the officers focus on diving away from the dinosaurs with rifle grenades and explosive bullets. Yeah, this is all happening in this movie. Fairbanks tries to convince Osborn to leave the island, but he refuses. Eventually, though, he feels he has observed the dinosaurs long enough and decides to leave shortly. Tarnowski, however, will not leave the island until he brings back a dinosaur alive, which none of the other men think is a good idea. He starts saying bad things about the men due to the overdose of whiskey that he's been drinking. Crewmen, knowing that the officers are not treating them well, try to steal a lifeboat and get off the island. The officers are alerted. The crewmen are able to dodge their gunfire and escape. However, they're all killed when a giant wave topples and smashes the boat. The survivors come back into the cat and find it destroyed because Tarnowski carelessly threw away his match. Knowing they must soon leave the island, they gather wood and begin building a raft. While Fairbanks and Osborn are working on the raft, Carol is grabbed by Tarnowski, who plays a cruel trick on her. The Ceratosaurus arises, but Tarnowski kills him with 2 grenades and kidnaps Carol. Oh, jeez, this is getting weird. While Fairbanks and Osborn argue about her safety, Tarnowski tried to convince Carol to leave the island secretly with him, but she refuses. Eventually, he says he will protect her. He dozes off with him. Fairbanks, meanwhile, sets off in search of Carol. Last paragraph. Carol and Tarnowski are waking up. The Dimetrodon appears, but Carol kills it with Tarnowski's gun. Next, Tarnowski tries to kiss Carol, but Fairbanks arrives. The 2 men fight, and Tarnowski is knocked out, giving Fairbanks and Carol time to escape. The sloth reappears and kills Tarnowski. As Fairbanks and Carol reach the shores of the island, they are trapped behind a rock during a fight between the sloth and the Ceratosaurus. The sloth wins by knocking the dinosaur off the cliff and walks away. Carol and Fairbanks are shortly reunited with Osborn and another passenger, and the 4 break camp and leave the island on Tarnowski's boat. The end. Back to you, Bill. This is KE5ICX, and mark me as checked in.
My, Tom. I can't believe that anybody wrote that. It was nearly as long as the movie. KE5ICX, got to check in, Tom. Does anybody else want to check into the Afterglow net? We are going to discuss Unknown Island, a 1948 color flick. I guess it's science fiction because there's dinosaurs in it. Would anybody like to check in? If so, please come now with your call sign and your name and whether you or not you saw the movie. This is in 5BB Afterglow.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony and Dallas, I did see the movie.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brendan DeSoto, I did see this movie.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, J in your Weather, I film.
Let's hold there. I recognize NT5TM. Tony saw the movie. WB5OZL. Brenda saw the movie. KG5BZW. Jay, did you see the movie? I didn't understand. Try again.
I saw the film or movie or whatever. I said film, but I saw it.
Very good, Jay. I just misunderstood. Okay, does anybody else want to check into the Afterglow net? We watched Unknown Island, a 1948 color movie. Anybody else want to check in? This is N5BB Net Control. I'm not looking at Echolink. Does anybody want to check in from Echolink? If so, go ahead. Wow, 5 stations are check-in echoing. Let's see. Jay, Tom, Rich, Joe, Bill, and me. So, Rich, AG5PM, are you really listening? Do you want to participate in the net? If so, go ahead. Nothing heard. Joe, KG5, Zombies Might Giggle. Joe, do you want to participate in the Afterglow net? If so, please come ahead. Or type in the echo link, one or the other. Bill, W5BLT, bacon, lettuce, and tomatoes. Bill, do you want to participate in the net? If so, please go ahead. Let us know. I'm going to assume they either took a break away from their radio or computer, or they were logged into an earlier net and didn't check out. So let's start here. One more try. Does anybody else want to check in to the Afterglow net? We're discussing Unknown Island, a 1948 color science fiction movie. If so, please come now. This is in 5BB. Okay, I'm going to go in reverse order. J, KG5BZW. What did you think about the intricate plot of this fine film? KG5BZW and 5BB. What about the plot, Jay?
KG5BZW, I'm on Naked Link now. Except for now, I'm going to have to shut the door so I don't hear myself too much on the radio. At least it was filled with, to the brim, with stuff, for like no one else to say it, because I didn't see that much redeeming qualities to the characters. But, I mean, it really was filled, and the pacing was pretty decent. It's just, the story kind of didn't... I mean, the characters are just idiots, and so it's like the story doesn't exactly make sense because they're idiots that are making these... and slightly racist, too, but besides that... it's, I don't know. I'm glad I watched the film, but I could see how, like a, 90s film, Jurassic Park kind of might have gotten some inspiration from that, even though, I know the Crichton novel that that movie's from. Man, I don't know what to think of the film. It was an interesting experience. I'm just going to leave it at that. KG5BZW, back to net.
Okie dokie, Jay. Brenda, what did you think about the plot of this fine motion picture production? WB50ZL and 5BB. The plot, Brenda, the plot.
This is WB50ZL. Is fine a code word for something else? That's just what I'd like to know. We keep kicking that word around. It doesn't ever seem to be appropriate to what we're talking about. Well, I can say that being in color did not save this movie. It was pathetic, but in kind of a good way. It's like when you eat too much ice cream and your stomach hurts. It's a good and bad thing at the same time. It had dinosaurs in it. That was pretty cool. And a lot of fighting. Let's spoil the plot down. These people go to an island with fakey dinosaurs, and they fight each other all the time. And the dinosaurs eat them. And they argue and bicker and argue and fight. And the dinosaurs roar. I don't know that dinos really do that, but they do in this movie. And then they fight some more, and they do something stupid like throw a cigarette onto a flammable bush and make a fire. They seem to have incredibly low IQs. That's all I can say. But the plot was pretty simple. Yeah, people fighting, people arguing, and people doing dumb stuff. But I guess in the end it was okay. Some of them lived and got away and had pictures of the dinosaurs, which, what's that going to do for you? So I've just questioned why there was a little isolated island with all these different kinds of dinosaurs that had, I guess they survived there for 60 million years or so. I don't know. That seems a little incredible that they would have been unchanged for all those tens of millions of years. But, we saw the evidence. You can't deny the pictures. They're there, so I guess it did happen. Back to net, WB50ZL.
Very good, Brenda. They're there. Next, Tony. You saw this movie. What did you think? NT5TM and 5BB. The plot.
Good evening, Bill. Well, I actually saw last week's movie too, and sadly I fell asleep before the afternoon movie net started. But fortunately, because I wanted to still get in some comments about last week, I found a common thread where I could talk about last week's movie and this week's movie. And that is making movies is hard. Pretty much every part of it. Lighting is hard. Acting is impossibly hard, especially in modern movies where someone might just be holding out a yardstick that says monster on it, and you're standing in front of a green screen and you have to pretend you see the monster. Acting is so hard. I can't even imagine. Not my thing. But, since every job in a movie is hard, writing is hard too. Last week in Beyond the Sky, we had this big movie where, with a lot of good production values, but somehow we're supposed to be, a fake alien abduction is interrupted by a real alien abduction, and the whole point of that is we were maybe hoping to change the past, maybe. I don't know, head scratch, like 5-second thing there. Anyway, back to normal. In this movie, likewise, we have actual dinosaurs, allegedly. I mean, they're people in rubber suits, one of whom, according to Wikipedia, died of heat stroke right there on screen. All these exciting creatures, and the best plot they can come up with is, I want to get more pictures versus fist fights, even more fist fights, then another fist fight after that. Writing is hard. Confronting something really fascinating like dinosaurs or aliens, and then coming up with an interesting way that people could react to it is apparently astonishingly difficult, because neither the writers of last week's movie nor the writer or writers of this week's movie knew what to do. So I thought the plot was pretty poor, and you can say that of both weeks, although last week had far higher production values. This week was also beleaguered love trapezoid, in which every male character in the movie wants to be the romantic choice of the one woman in the entire universe. I can only imagine. No, I actually really can't. I have no clue. I only know that I can't imagine how exhausted she must have felt. with, the big belligerent sea captain, or the photography-obsessed guy, or the guy who eventually she hooks up with at the end, or picks out of the selection. You have to remember that at the beginning of the movie, he was the alcoholic ne'er-do-well. So she really didn't have a big menu of choices here. The obsessive photography, the belligerent sea captain, the first, or the alcoholic. What a wonderful menu of choices she's got. So I was not satisfied with the plot, and we'll talk about the rubber suits later. NT5TM.
So, Tony says that rubber suits were used, and unfortunately there was a death involved in the filming. Sounds like the filming was more exciting than the actual movie. Tom, KE5ICX. It's up for you to talk about the plot, Tom. You say you saw the movie in 5BB.
Yes, Bill, indeed I did. And I want you to know, even though there was a person who died in a rubber suit in this movie, and it was recorded on film, no dinosaurs were actually killed in the film, much to my relief. So things that really didn't work in this film was basically the entire film. They spent a long time in the Singapore cafe/bar back room thing, discussing what they supposedly were seeing and dinosaurs and all of that. I was getting so bored, I just made up my own story. I believed that they were in Casablanca, and there was this whole love story with going through Paris and happiness and trying to get around Nazis and everything. And somehow or another, they just, I was mimicking and barking my own words to the story. It was the beginning of a wonderful relationship. So that scene in the Singapore bar went on and on and on. And I thought, get on with it. Get on the ship. Do something. They get on the ship and they do nothing. Nothing happens. They just talk back and forth. Talk. Nothing happens. Then when they get to the island, they spot the dinosaurs. We know something's going to happen. Nothing happens. They spend all their time bickering with each other. They've got dinosaurs that's never been seen before. Here's this opportunity to take pictures, and lots of them, and to be able to do scientific discovery. But instead, we're worried about the gal, and of course, it's her fault. She wore that nice dress and the high heels, and that got the guys going. And even the dinosaurs were thinking she was pretty something. So suddenly now we've got an attack of the dinosaurs out on the plains of the unknown island. Oh, by the way, on the unknown island, when they show up, if you notice, the beach and then the island itself, it's only about 12 feet in width, because all of a sudden all the trees end and it goes nowhere. So they've got all sorts of weapons. They've got grenades. They got launchers. What are they? Some sort of launcher. I don't know what it is. Rifle grenades. They got rifle grenades, and they're going to shoot those things off. And you see the three, what are they? The sloths or something? Whatever they were. The three dinosaurs wandering around in on the island, and they're coming at them at breakneck speed. I mean, that I've never seen a stampede of dinosaurs, but if I were to see a stampede of dinosaurs, I would think it would be a little faster than what they were doing. They were all worried that they were going to be attacked, but in fact, you would die of old age waiting for those three dinosaurs to shuffle their way towards you and eat you. Now, I do have a question on how one of the crew ends up getting eaten or partially eaten or otherwise trampled by one of the slow-moving dinosaurs, but somehow or another, he did. This is almost as bad as The Creeping Terror, the worst movie ever made, but that one was in black and white. And Captain Ternowski, who doesn't love an alcohol-poisoned captain of the ship? He was great. And that last, every other sentence, he had that wonderful laugh, and then he'd take a swig of whatever the hell he was drinking, and another laugh, and then he'd try and kiss what's-her-name, and she didn't like it, and then he'd laugh, and he'd say, well, you're stuck with me because the sloths are out on their unbelievably slow, shuffling attack vector things, so, and then he'd laugh. He was quite the laughing fellow. And then finally, this is the biggest question I had. The crew was killed on the beach. The captain was killed. The first officer, Gilligan, he was killed. The only thing left are the love interests and her. And who the heck is going to pilot the ship? All the people that knew how the ship ran are dead. But as seemed to be the tradition in this entire film, nobody actually worked on the ship. They bickered, they mutinied, they talked, but nobody ever actually steered the ship anywhere, including the final, was it 3 or 4 people? 3 people? 4 people. 4 people left who knew nothing about the ship in the first place, and it just tugs out all out of the harbor and into the end. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts about Tarnowski's ship, the crew, the love interests, and the main actors and the rubber monsters. Back to you, Bill, KE5ICX.
Well, thank you, Tom. This is InfabBB. Well, they left some crew on the ship, so there were some crew remaining on that ship. It was somehow so far out to sea that they couldn't see them, waving for help on the beach or something. That made no sense. When they were coming close to the island, they were going to have to stop so the big ship didn't run aground. But they must have stopped 30 miles away or 40 miles away, which is way too far, because they were closer than that when they stopped originally. Anyway, don't try to make rational sense of the plot, because it won't work. It just doesn't work. So let's see. Here's my comments. This is InfabBB. So let's see. What did you have? You've got a ship captain, and of course, what does he do? He talks in a very gruff voice. He can, throw people out of the bar with the best of them. He drinks and drinks and drinks, but he never really gets completely sloshed. But he can drink and drink and drink and drink. He has an endless supply of liquor no matter where he goes. I don't know where he took it with him. It's like he had one of these magicians, the big coats they have where they keep pulling out the bananas. He had liquor in all his pockets. It's amazing. And he, of course, he was leering at the love interest, and he was actually trying to essentially rape her at one point. So there's that. There's that thread. Then there's a thread of the people go on the island and their help. They're kind of native helpers, which are very typecast, rather racist typecast. What do? They try to leave and steal the boat to get back. There's that plot thread we've seen before, people that want to leave and leave everybody else there. And the captain even wants to do the same thing, leave and leave everybody else there. There's that plot thread. And then we have, of course, the love triangle or quadrangle or whatever it is, with the one woman, all the men, and most of the men lust after her. And, of course, she goes over there with her fiancé, and by the time they're leaving, oh, no, he's bad. She's with the other guy who originally was drunk and, I don't know, just stupid stupid plot things that are just by somebody's plot book. You know, I just pulled them out of the pile, and there they were. And, of course, we had the dinosaurs in the isolated island. I think we've heard that before. And they threw in, of course, the large ape-like creature. We've seen that before also. But he's fighting the dinosaurs. It's like Ringo Starr caveman fighting the dinosaurs. You got... No. They didn't exist at the right time. They wouldn't be there together. The thing that bothered me a lot, too, was that you have the people, they're either on the beach there, the little strip of beach. They are in the jungle. Remember, it's very thick jungle. They can't see anything. Or, remember when the dinosaurs were fighting? They're out in the California desert. And you realize that these desert trees are as high as the dinosaurs are. Woo! Either it's really guys in suits, or the trees are 30 feet high. I wonder which it is. To me, the special effects of the monsters was really corny, especially the dinosaurs that could only walk as fast as these guys could stumble around in those suits without falling over. In 5BB. You know, the dinosaurs look like the Three Stooges in those suits. Anyway. Oh, by the way, jungle fever. I think he may have supposedly had malaria, but no, they called it jungle fever. Okay. Now let's go back to characterization. Ooh. Oh, before we do that, does anybody else want to check in? We have JJ. JJ is in the house. JJ, do you want to check in? Or anybody else? This is in 5BB, Afterglow.net. We're talking about Unknown Island. And I'm not watching Tom's reactions on the video stream. Is Tom making faces when I'm saying things, Tony? I wonder. Or is he acting like the characters? Is he mimicking the dinosaurs? Is he a mime? Is he miming? I'm not looking at it, so I can't tell. Okay. Jay, what did you think about the characterization? The directing, the characterization, all that kind of fine stuff. This is in 5BB, Afterglow.net.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey. Okay, using radio this time. You did double with somebody. I suggest you go ahead and try to check that in, and then I'll give my 2 cents.
Who did I double with? This is in 5BB, Afterglow.net.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I seen the movie.
Oh, my Sean. Oh, you're up next. You're just in time. Does anybody else besides Sean want to come in and join our party? This is in 5BB. Sean, what did you think about the plot of Unknown Island? This is in 5BB.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, I pretty well echo everybody else's feel about this movie, how poor it was. Definitely slow in the beginning, crazy plot. You can pretty much sum it up to the movie was really about 3 guys pursuing a girl, and the dinosaurs were just thrown in as an excuse to get them all alone, I suppose.
Yeah, I think you guys pretty well picked it apart. The only other couple little comments I thought was interesting was at the very end there, you know, when they decided to get on the raft and get back to the boat, you know, why didn't they use the actual boat that guy had hid? He told the girl exactly where it was at, so, you know, when she used that, not the makeshift raft, so that was kind of weird. The other thing I thought was crazy was that, you know, kind of when they first met those dinosaurs and they decided to start shooting at them when they were supposedly stampeding at 0.2 miles per hour, you know, dinosaurs are pretty big, and it seems like, you know, not one single shot hit. You know, it appeared all the bullets were just bouncing off the ground. So, so I thought that was kind of crazy. But no, not a whole lot to add with this movie. Unfortunately, this just was pretty boring. Back to net. This is KB9SOK.
Okay, Sean. So the bullets didn't go through the dinosaurs, but you were able to very easily shoot holes through the plot. I get it now. Jay, what did you think about characterization? This is in 5BB after GlowNet.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey. Hold on. Okay, sorry. Yeah, there's oh, goodness. I'm trying to think of a single smart or deep and reasonable thing that any of the main characters did. I mean, there's just, I just didn't like it. I almost feel like there's literally too many things in my head that just keep on popping up. I'd have to go through like a spreadsheet or something. Like, all right, why did they line up with this ship that's, you know, the crew is just on the breach edge of eating the, you know, every port or whatever, and why does the crew have such a stash of weapons, and why? I mean, now I'm getting back over to the plot more than characters, but I mean, the captain was awful, and you know, it's like, oh, good, big, strong leader that doesn't really understand anything, and I guess the lady was okay. I'm trying to remember what she was just the love interest, so of course she's not going to be doing anything too crazy. Oh man, the fiance, there's several things he did that was just goofy. And of course the alcoholic, that the survivor, that was the end love interest. I don't know. He may not have had so much that he did. It's like my brain is actively trying to forget this film as I'm trying to describe it. Let me reset. Okay, so, and then, I'm having some, okay, there's the first officer, which I can't remember that much about now, other than, I don't know, being some sort of a counterpoint to the captain. And of course, it has the crew and all that, the stereotype. That's a racist kind of stereotype that annoys the heck out of me. But hey, I guess it's Portuguese, so I don't know. Anyway, whatever. I don't know what else to say. It's going to be the continuing on with like the same rant with just different details. That's pretty much how I can sum it up. What I would say if I were to continue, so I don't think I will. And just to the next person. Oh, and to the next person. KG5, BDW5.
Very good, Jay. This is N5BB, after Gwinnett. I'm going to go right back over to Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, what did you think about the characterization, the acting, the directing, you know, that kind of stuff? N5BB.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, the characters were obviously very stereotypic. There was no real growth with these characters. They were very predictable. As you mentioned earlier, they just kind of had all the typical stereotypes in there. You know, the drunk captain, which is, you know, predictable. You know, you had the filmmaker that was putting, you know, his career before his wife, or to-be wife, possibly. And then, you know, you had, obviously, the drunk guy came from the island that becomes the hero in the end. So I guess he had the most growth in this movie. And then you had supposedly this very intelligent lady is supposed to be in charge of all this that doesn't seem to exactly be making great decisions either. And even though she was supposedly madly in love with this filmmaker, you know, and they were going to get married and all this and that, and they have one fight on the island, and she decides to switch who she's in love with from just a couple of conversations. So yeah, it didn't say a lot about her character either. So yeah, not a lot to say about the characterization here. The acting, I wouldn't say it was great. It was pretty low to average, maybe. I ain't gonna say it's the worst thing we saw by any means. We've definitely seen worse, but definitely not or anything. They're definitely not gonna win any Oscars with those. As far as the directing, I mean, I think that was pretty poor as well. This whole movie just wasn't that good. But then I guess maybe you got to give it a little bit of slack, because I guess they made this in 1948, and you know, I don't know. It was just bad writing. Now I'm not even going to cut it any slack. Leave it at that. Back to net. This is KB9SOK.
Well, thank you, Sean. Bad writing. What do you think, Brenda? WB50ZL. This is N5BB. Characterization and directing.
This is WB50ZL. I didn't think the dinosaurs were cast very well. They overacted a lot, and you know, I don't know why they couldn't have found some professional dinosaur actors instead of these guys. But anyway, yeah, a lot of stereotypes in this. The woman, they alluded to the fact that she seemed to have money and was funding this thing. So taking up with the ne'er-do-well would be okay. I mean, he doesn't have a job and doesn't have any money, but that's okay. She does. And he was attractive, I have to say that, but I'm not quite sure what kind of future she has with him. Let's see. Characters. The captain was just way over the top. He was annoying and obnoxious, and you've never met anybody that actually acted like that. But that laugh of his, you know, and everybody drank all the time. I'm not sure what that's about. Just, you know, there was a period of time in movies where people reached for a drink continuously. They walked in the front door and they went to the bar, and it's not shown that way in movies so much anymore. Let's see, what else? Characters. I thought the natives, that was rather insulting and stereotypical. But, you know, it was 1958, so. And, let me think. I guess that's about all I have to say about this. I'll probably have some more ideas shortly. This is W50ZL.
Okay, Brenda. Don't hurt any brain cells thinking about this film. Don't Tony, NT5TM, who's reporting on Tom making faces, like he's having fun and happy to hear us. So, Tony, what did you think about the characterization, the acting, the directing, all that kind of stuff in 5BB?
Well, Brenda is right to pick on their vices, because it's weird how things go in cycles. You know, there are some old movies where people just can't stop smoking. And it's remarkable, because I know smoking was really popular in the late 1940s, but no one in this movie smokes. Okay, that's good. But yeah, they drink so much that they don't even notice when people hit them in the back of the head with beer bottles. It's just, wow, that's a lot of alcohol. Yes, I was particularly interested in how the alcoholic ne'er-do-well, who turns out to be the winning love interest, he just goes cold turkey. He's actively trying to drink himself to death, like in Leaving Las Vegas, and then he's just suddenly on this ship, and he's been given a sedative and slipped aboard, and he's just like, oh, well, do-to-do, I guess I'm here now. I don't drink. I'm not an alcoholic. No interest in that. What even is that stuff? I don't know what you're talking about. So yeah, the characters were, as everyone has alluded to, completely unbelievable, and I have nothing positive to say about them. NT5TM.
Oh, I got to make a comment, Tony. Correction. There was obviously one character that smoked, the captain. But guess what he did with his cigarette butts? It made a very big effect in the movie. Talk about stupid. Okay, next we're up for Tom, KE5ICX. Tom, was there any character in the movie any stupider than the captain throwing his cigarette butt right into the oil-covered pile of flammable material? N5BB.
Why, yes, Bill, there was. The giant sloth, played by, who was it played by? Ray Crash Corrigan. Now, the giant sloth was actually like a gorilla suit with a rat head. That was the giant sloth. So he was pretty stupid. But here's the thing. I went back and I checked. I kept thinking, Captain Tarnowski. Where do I know Captain Tarnowski from? And as soon as I just covered up the whiskey bottle, I recognized him immediately. It was General Peterson from I Dream of Jeannie. You remember General Peterson. He was always the one that when Dr. Bellows would announce that Tony had done something really crazy and things had appeared and disappeared, he'd run to General Peterson and say, but General, it's exactly what I told you. And then I remember in one humorous episode, General Peterson's uniform was burned because Dr. Bellows thought he had a burn-proof material that could be used for uniforms. And he ended up burning General Peterson's uniform. And before it was all over, General Peterson was wearing an old World War II Army uniform, even though he was in the Air Force. Just thought I'd mention that. That was played by Captain Tarnowski in this particular film, Barton McLean. Now, the first, John Fairbanks was played by Richard Denning. He was in The Creature from the Black Lagoon, so he looked familiar. He's also been in Target Earth, which we've watched. Day of the World Ended, we watched that. And Creature with the Atomic Brain, we watched that one. He is Mr. B-movie science fiction wonder child. He was in all those films, so he was good as kind of the disinterested guy and had a love interest with Carol. But who couldn't resist Carol and that dress and those pumps? Man, the quadrangle was really humming then. So there you have it. So I don't know. I guess all those things play into it. The characters themselves very stereotypical, I guess. What do you expect? But, you know, just take and put all your stereotype characters into one movie and add color, and you've got Unknown Island. Now back to you, Bill. KE5ICF.
Well, thanks, Tom. This is N5BB with the Afterglow Net. For anybody listening, we're talking about the movie Unknown Island, a 1948 color science fiction movie. And, you know, this movie was made in 1948. I'm nearly expecting to see a PT boat come up with McHale's Navy landing on the island to do some harebrained scheme. That's about, I mean, McHale's Navy was much more cerebral than this thing. Anyway, let's see, what can I say about the characterization? The captain was not much of a captain. He was a very bad characterization, just a very bad caricature of a captain. Ted Osmond, he was a wimp. All he cared about was his photographs. And through the movie, if we were at a movie theater, we would have been throwing popcorn or something at the screen saying, Ted, forget your photos. Go and do something that shows Carol that you have some interest in her. But no, he ignored her. So John Fairbanks, he was smarter than that. I think John Fairbanks, that actor, did the best acting and really had the best, you know, he came off okay in the whole thing. Because, why? He's going off with the girl. Yeah. So he's the one that did good. Carol herself, where'd she get her movie? Where'd she get her money? This is N5BB Afterglow Net. Where did she get the money from? She's going to marry the other guy. She's got the money. And money was no object. She had plenty of money. And she had all these tents. She had multiple chains. She had an outfits. Did you notice she didn't just come dressed in some shorts or some dungarees? No, she had multiple things. Every day you saw her, she had different clothes on. Woo, what a deal. It looked like she had makeup on, too. So that was kind of interesting. But what's the backstory on Carol? Where'd she come from? Why'd she care about this? And why'd she really want to go there? You know? No backstory, though. All we know is she's got some money. And she had, for some stupid reason, she cared about this Ted Osmond guy. But, you know, we didn't know much about her at all. We know a little bit more about the other characters, but Carol, all we know is she's got money, and she's the one girl with all the guys on the remote island. What can possibly go wrong? Of course, the dinosaurs, the characterization there is they do exactly what they do in the zombie movies. The actors walk around with their arms outstretched, kind of bungling around. I mean, that was horrible. You would have thought they would have done something better than that. I mean, get them to crawl, get them to run, get them to do something other than just kind of bungling around in some stupid way. And when they were fighting, did they really look like they were fighting? And it looked like they were all fighting. It's like there was nothing but a big fight. After a week, nobody would be left. You know, meaningless. It's stupid plot. stupid characterization. And that's all I have to say about that. Now, does anybody do we have any late check-ins? We're talking about, this is the Afterglow Net. We're talking about the movie Unknown Island, a 1948 color science fiction movie. Does anyone else want to say anything about anything? If so, call sign only in 5BB.
Kilo India 5, Delta, Juliet, just listening, no traffic.
Whiskey 5, Echo Bravo, Bravo, David in Dallas, yeah, I saw it.
KG5, BGW.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Oh, man. For a solidly B movie, we sure have a lot of comments. KI5DJJ, I've forgotten your name. What's your name and location, please?
QSL, KI5DJJ, Josh, McKinney, Texas.
Hey, you're doing a good job all the way from McKinney. You must have a good setup there, Josh. Very good. I'm in Irving. W5EBB, David is coming late to the party. David, we've talked about the plot. We've talked about the characterization. You can talk about anything you want to. Are there any socio-philosophical, religious aspects to this movie? W5EBB, this is in 5BB.
Well, thanks, Bill. This movie was exceptional in a number of ways, and just briefly, what I liked about it, dinosaurs, ships, alcohol, a lot of alcohol, whiskey, rum, any potable form of alcohol was represented in this movie. Cigarettes, smoke, more cigarettes, knives, guns, furry red ape, almost King Kong-ish creatures, penguin waddling dinosaurs. Let's see, and there was a red-headed Fay Ray with really good hair. And I think the unsung star of this movie is, in fact, the hairstylist. W5EBB.
David, that's a very good point. I tell you, the sound effects definitely didn't win. The dinosaurs were odd. They weren't very inventive there. That's all I'll say. Okay, let's see. We're going to go to Jay and then to Tony. Jay, what do you say? What you got in 5BB?
This is KG5 BZW. I'm back on Echo Link here. Well, I will grant there was the special effects at the very end were a little bit better than the rest of the film, because you actually got to see tearing at the neck of the dinosaur and the off creature. I wonder, I think I missed a part of the note when they were describing how this is. I know this thing was colorized or whatever, but somebody said something about how something was colorized or something, and I'm just wondering if when it was in the theaters, basically, if that was actually what it was, or is this what was colorized for color TV later or something? I don't know. I thought the falling scene, which didn't make any sense, by the way, because all of a sudden we got a cliff that where the heck did this cliff come from? I mean, they did kind of show the okay, this fell is a hill, whatever, blah blah blah. It's still, I don't know. There's just something about that scene that they did build up to it, but it still didn't quite make any sense. But the whole falling sequence, that was okay. I don't know. There might have been a couple other things that was all right. The dinosaurs. I mean, what do you expect people in the 1940s to come up with dinosaurs? I don't know. It's not going to be realistic. It's so. Besides some sort of, I don't know, the King Kong type animation type thing, which I don't think they probably didn't have the budget for. Yeah, it kind of came out with how I would kind of imagine. I think the special effects would be. I think that's the main thing I wanted to point out. The ending something. Whatever. I could probably just shut it off. KG5BCW.
Okay, Jay, this is N5BB. I said something about this at the very start, but you may have missed it. I did a little research. This movie was filmed in color. It was filmed with a process called Cinecolor, Cinecolor. And Cinecolor before World War II was really made, or before the end of World War II, was really only used for cartoons. But after World War II, up until the mid-50s, a number of movies, most of them B-movies, were made using it. It was a very inexpensive process. You could use black and white processing, essentially. It was two kinds of film in the camera that were kind of sandwiched together, and the front film recorded essentially all the colors except for red, and the red then went through to the rear film, and it got the red. So for certain things, it was pretty good for, but it could not represent bright greens. All the bright greens are kind of muted, and there's other colors it wasn't so good for. They filmed a lot of Western movies in it because it was just fine for the movies out there in the desert. But that was what it was. It was an inexpensive color process called Cinecolor. Two films, a two-color process, specially processed to make it look like it's full color. Okay, next we have Tony. Anything you want to talk about, Tony, in 5BB and Afterglow?
Well, sure. I wanted to pick on the effects. Particularly early in the movie, there were these sort of generic dinosaurs, which I'm going to call Sinclairosaurs, because they looked just sort of like the green dinosaur in the Sinclair logo. It was sort of a non-specific large herbivore. And they got, it was like we were watching a role-playing game where the other character only gets to move once every few turns. They would just step and then step. They moved with this odd, slow, jerky motion. And every time they tried animation in this movie, it was like that. It was just like you're saving money by not moving the models very often. So the Sinclairosaurs were particularly unconvincing. And JJ had asked on Echolink, was there any music and was it any good? And Tom, KE5ICX, said that he thought it was okay, but I'd like to bash the music. It was just so stereotypical. Just, you know, something ominous is about to happen, so you hear the dum-dum-dum kind of three-note thing, and it was all just very predictable and unpleasant and generic. And so, yeah, I think we missed out on something by not bashing the music. So I wanted to take care of that for us. Anyway, have a great night, NT5TM.
I didn't even notice there was music in the film. This is N5BB. And I don't think there was any animation stuff. I think it was all people in suits. I mean, it's obvious that the dinosaurs were in these, rubber suits. I mean, somebody evidently died in one of them. And my guess is that the other, if there were any kind of slithering animals, they were just some model pulled with a thread or something. There's one effect they had where they threw something off the cliff. Remember that? They threw some monster-looking model off the side of the cliff. That was cheap and easy to do. Anyway, do we have any final comments before we close? This is N5BB Afterglow.net. Yeah, JJ on text on the Echolink says he had a Sinclair dinosaur from the 1964 New York World's Fair. Yeah, my brother, when I was a kid, was into dinosaurs, and so he had some little dinosaur. He didn't have toy soldiers. He had dinosaurs. He could move around. So the movie looked like kids were doing them, like kids were playing with the dinosaurs, and they were, oh, you hit me. Oh, I bite you. Oh. That's what it looked like. Kids playing with dinosaur models. Oh, but the kids could move them much better than these actors in suits. Okay, that's all we got. This is N5BB closing the Afterglow.net. And we're turning it over to Tom, KE5ICX. Tom, what fine film is coming up next week? Is it going to be A movie, a B movie, a C movie, or do we really want to even say? This is N5BB.
Well, Bill, I'm glad you asked, because next week's movie has Eric Braeden and Ricardo Montalban in it. Are you ready for the 1971 science fiction highlight of 1971? Well, maybe not. Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Yes, it's available for free on YouTube. That's our movie for next week. Escape from the Planet of the Apes. This is KE5ICX.
Very good, Tom. Escape from Planet of the Apes. That brings up something. I discovered reading about this on Wikipedia or somewhere, this film we saw, the Unknown Island, that it was readily available because the original copyright, they didn't file for it until several months after they released the movie. And according to the copyright law, that meant that the copyright could not be enforced. So the people that produced it were stupid. That's all I got. Good night. Keep warm. It's supposed to be down well below freezing tonight. Revised forecast. N5BB clear.